once said, I just want to live like the trees, smoke some trees, stay around some leaves, you know what I mean? That was Absol. He was saying he just wants to live like the trees, smoke some leaves, or stay around some leaves, you know what I mean? Meaning that he just wanted to grow, you know? He wanted to branch out. He wanted to plant some roots, his roots in some fine soil that has preferably a good waterbed below it. He wanted to have that experience of living like the trees. Turns out the trees have a lot of experience because they've been standing there watching a lot of shit happen. A lot of things pass by, a lot of people do a lot of weird things in front of them, and they think they don't notice. Trees see everything. Turns out trees even are a type of network. This type of network is actually connected to the ether and actually collecting information. That's why when you sit under a tree and meditate, you can get a serious download that could really change your life for the better. So how this helps you as an artist, when you actually try and live like the trees, connect to the trees, they actually help you to branch out in your etheric body. Etheric body meaning your spirit. Your spirit branches out and then you become a way more creative than you could have been. Heck, the wizards of old used to carry wands, uh, wands made out of the most finest trees in order to be able to properly portray their magic. Even the finest wizards of old used to even carry magic staffs made out of the oldest trees in order to facilitate this magic. And if you recall properly, the oldest phones around 2001, 2000, 1999, those kinds of phones used to have an aerial, a whole antenna that you pull out of it in order for it to catch the network out of the ether. This practice was started because they realized that the human being is actually designed like a tree. um you have an actual connection to the ether, which is your network, and then they realized that by using you, since you drink the water that has fluoride, which is a metallic element, you are actually able to do what the antenna does because you are actually the antenna itself. That's why our phones don't have antennas anymore. But back to the trees. Yeah, living like the trees basically it connects you to the ether, connects you to wider sources of knowledge, meaning that in your spiritual art, in your spiritual expression, you are actually be able to actually express more. You actually be able to connect to higher sources of knowledge, meaning that you are more creative, because the more you know, the more you actually expand your imagination. You must understand that the imagination is actually the image nation. It's a nation of images. It's all the images that you've seen around your life that you have collected through your sight, and then these images are made as a conglomerate or a nation that actually becomes basically your imagination. Also, you collect images from your past lives, lives that you've lived as prior, as when you were another person, the kinds of images that you collect when you watch TV, the kinds of images you collect when you watch magazines. All these images come inside you and become one with you, so that you may better express. Meaning that it's like you actually having a whole collection of photos in your gallery, and these photos that you in your gallery are you are actually able to use them to be able to get inspiration or source the info in order to incorporate it in your art. When you do your thumbnails, you gotta if you're gonna draw a hand, you gotta draw a few hands, in order to get the thing right. Or you even get a picture from Google in order to get that hand right. You know what I'm talking about. But the trees, guys, the trees actually help you to ground your art from a higher source, from a higher plane of existence. This is basically how you become better as an artist, because the more you emulate the trees, the more you emulate the source origin itself. Pete Mondrian actually sat for hours drawing trees until he actually got to the point where he started drawing art the way he did. If you're familiar with Pete, if you're not familiar with Pete Mondrian, please just Google his name and you'll see his art. Turns out his art inspired a man known by Mies van der Rohe, who was his friend at the time. When he saw Pete's art, he actually got the idea to actually make the first ever skyscraper, realizing that through the tree, because the tree's internal structure is the stem and the branches, right? So the internal structure is the strong part, and the leaves are the soft part. So by incorporating that design, he actually at the time sky buildings could not go over what they could not go over 3 feet, so they basically could not build further than that. But by seeing the way trees are designed, they actually got the idea that making the internal structure stronger actually makes the building stand. It actually allows us to build further, making the internal structure stronger and the external structure lighter. That's why we find that the skyscrapers are made out of a steel frame inside, and then they make a glass frame on the outside. So I say that to say this: the more you emulate the trees, the more naturalistic your art is gonna be, the more spiritual your art is gonna be, and the more power you're gonna have towards your art. So you as the artist, come on, guys, like the more you emulate the trees, the more you're gonna get this. Yeah, I'm gonna have a blog soon about this where I speak more further about these kinds of concepts. Stick around and find out about that. I love y'all.